Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
that is how we say good afternoon to you on this fine Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. A brand new week is upon us, so lots of possibilities laying ahead. Good afternoon to you. It is the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM. Lots of conversation on the table today by way of this show, but also lots happening in the country today. So many conversations being held across the news cycles. A lot of our colleagues focusing also on everything that's going on by way of the COSATU national strike that's happening today across all the major cities. There is that mass protest action that's currently underway with members of COSATU and other unions that have joined in this march, and it is a protest against joblessness and the rising cost of living, and of course stagnant pay. Today also marks the 1-year anniversary of the October 7 attacks on Israeli festival goers. It's an international day of commemoration today, and we know, of course, that those events from October 7th triggered a geopolitical conflict that has affected the region. So today, globally, faith-based leaders, activists, and peace-loving individuals have all continued to call for a ceasefire and, of course, a release of those hostages that are still held captive and an end to the war that has taken thousands of lives on both sides. But putting those issues to the side, the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, kicks off now. We have lots by way of our conversation just to help you decompress a little bit. We're going to be touching base with the folks at the Tembisile local municipality, and they have launched a grant funding initiative to empower local businesses. They'll tell us more about that. Google is also inviting Black South African founders to apply for startup funding. We'll find out more about what that entails as part of their Accelerator Africa Black Founders program. Coming up on the other side of 2 o'clock, we have a look at job satisfaction in South Africa and the quest for job quality, and we'll be in conversation with a researcher from the HSRC around that conversation. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line, and 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on.
After registering 4 points in their first 2 matches, the Mambas of Mars target a huge win to keep their top status in Group I. But Stangsem Negati want out of the bottom position. They believe not even the Mozambican heat will stop them from getting their first win. This is the Total Energies AFCON 2025 qualifier. Experience the meeting between neighbors. Mozambique versus Eswatini on Friday, 11 October at 3 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone. Always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
And the show continues. Our lines are open on 061-410-4107 and, of course, 086-000-2032. We're in conversation now with Dumsani Mahlangu, the municipal manager of Tembisile local municipality. And they're excited to announce a new grant funding initiative that's designed to support local small, medium and micro enterprises, cooperatives, as well as non-profit organizations. But he'll tell us more about what it all entails. How are you doing this afternoon, Dumsan?
I'm fine, Bridget. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much. Let's get straight into the crux of it. So you launch a grant funding initiative. Tell us a bit more about perhaps the motivation behind this initiative.
No, thank you very much, Bridget. And let's greet the listeners of SAFM. It's actually not the first time we're implementing this program. So it's a continuation from the previous financial year. The municipality has set aside a total of 5 million rands in the current financial year so we can support SMMEs, NPOs, NGOs, and also cooperatives. We would recall, Bridget, that SMMEs play a crucial and indispensable role in driving economic growth and development within our country. But in this context, we're referring to Tembisile. And this is where we are as a municipality, an area which we have seen fit for us to ensure that we are able to empower them, basically with tools of trade. So it's not in essence us giving them money so that they're able to go out and trade, but it's for them to give us proposals so that we can support the businesses, both formal and informal, with tools of trade, which are going to assist grow, of course, our local economy and also create jobs while eradicating the triple challenges which you have, man.
Let's expand a little bit on that, Dumsani, by way of the main objectives of the grant. And you mentioned there that, in essence, it is to empower them with tools of trade. Elaborate on that for us.
All right, thank you. So you would know that we've got different businesses which are operating as small, medium enterprises. Of course, we're not leaving out NPOs, NGOs, and cooperatives as well, which is why they're incorporated into the program. In an instance where you would have manufacturing personnel which are asking for assistance from the municipality. So we say just come forward. Here is requirements which must be met so that you are able to therefore submit your business plan with all the required documentation, and then we are able to indicate to you at a later stage after following all due processes as to whether your application has been successful or unsuccessful. So we're looking at tourism, we're looking at the creative sector, your arts, we're looking at agriculture and agro-processing, we're looking at services, we're looking at manufacturing. And this is important in the context that this is also part of our main contributors in terms of our GDP. And those are the sectors whereby we want to expand and reduce this over-reliance which we have on community services, and that would be government. You would remember, Bridget, we are mainly located in a rural area, so we are referred to as a rural municipality with an unemployment rate of 62.2%, whereby people are looking at government for assistance. So we are saying, no, it's part of economic growth in our area, and this is what we are saying we are assisting our SMMEs with and all other disciplines as well.
A very important intervention, I would presume, especially for driving and developing the local economy.
Quite important. As we indicated, an unemployment rate of 62.2%, and with mainly 5 core contributors to our GDP. And the only one which I did not mention was construction. So this intervention can go a long way in ensuring that there is economic sustainability within our municipality. Remember, by doing this, the whole objective of it is that jobs are going to be created, livelihoods are going to be changed for the better. You are reducing inequality, you are reducing poverty in the municipality. And it's not just us making available the tools of trade, but also to come back at a later stage and assess as to whether the interventions are working and as to whether that which they wanted to implement as smaller businesses are being implemented through a signed of service level agreement with the municipality. Because monitoring and evaluation of programs which we implement is something which we tend to forget as government, and we've got systems in place to eradicate against such or guard against such.
Let's talk a little bit about that, the assessment of whether or not, it is working. What have previous projections said, or previous data? What has it said about the tangible results that you seek by way of either job creation or even seeing the scaling up and sustainability of certain stakeholders who have been part of the program previously?
Yeah, so in the past, the municipality would set aside 200,000. So we commence with this program, of course, through the guidance and visionary leadership of the executive mayor, which is why we've set aside now 50 million. So now on the 28th of June 2024, if I recall quite well, that is when we handed over tools of trade to 21 SMMEs, including cooperatives, NPOs, and NGOs. There's a service level agreement which we have entered into, and at the end of this quarter of the current financial year, we would have gone out to make our own assessments as an institution as to whether this has been able to drive the change which we want to see within our municipality or not.
Just to get the numbers correct, Dumsani, so you say previously there was only 200,000 allocated for this initiative, and now there is 5 million.
Yeah, so in the prior years, it was only 200,000 per financial year.
Okay.
But as at July last year, that would have been the beginning of the 2023-2024 financial year. We had upscaled the budget from 200,000 to 5 million, and we're continuing in the current financial year with 5 million, so that we are able to make a greater impact within our business community. And the target is basically roughly a minimum of 50 businesses, co-ops, NGOs, and peoples which must benefit. With your formal businesses, they can get up to 100,000 worth of tools of trade, and your informal sector, which contributes 35% to the economy, by the way, they can get up to 50,000 per entity.
Okay. And so you say that the initiative targets key sectors, and you mentioned manufacturing, tourism, agriculture, and of course informal as well as informal trades, so things like beauty, catering, plumbing, etc. And talk to us about the criteria that businesses must meet in order for them to qualify for the grant, especially when we're talking about informal businesses, because sometimes they lack in the administrative paperwork that see them missing out on certain opportunities.
That's true. The disclaimer there too is that during this round of this support to businesses, we have onboarded informal businesses. In the past, we did not cater for them, and this is on the basis of what the stats are indicating, the 35% contribution to GDP, which I referred to. So in relation to your formal businesses, what's important as well is that this is solely for the people of Thembisile local municipality and South African citizens. So it's mainly simple documentation, which the boxes must be ticked. A business plan, we're looking at a lease or rental agreement of the business not exceeding 12 months. Of course, also encouraging the payment of municipal services through the implementation of this program. You're looking at FICA documentation, such as a municipality account, or your letter from a traditional authority, in our instance, where we're working quite well with the traditional authority, a bank confirmation letter, a CIPC registration documentation. And there will also be an attendance of a compulsory briefing session, which must be ticked, going to the requirements in terms of our informal businesses. We're looking at a letter from the relevant ward councillor confirming the existence of the business and its functionality. Equally, FICA documentation, the business plan. We also need the plans, designs of specifications and quotations of the cost items. And if probably you are someone like a plumber or an electrician, you must also include a letter of recommendation from a structural association which you belong to. So those are the main requirements which must be met.
All right. By way of the briefing session, I'm told it's happening on the 10th of October, and it is compulsory.
It is compulsory. It's on the 10th at 10:00 hours here at our municipal head office in Mbomushe, formerly referred to as Kwagafontein. And this is equally an opportunity for us to take the SMMEs on board, to say this is basically how you respond to a request for proposal. At the same time, we are training them for greater things which are going to come their way, and for them to go outside of the municipality and trade as well.
Now tell me this, Dumsani. The program, from what I understand, is obviously focused more on existing businesses. What say you of startups? Are startups excluded from this? And if so, is there any future planning as to how one makes such initiative and such support perhaps available for entrepreneurs who are starting up their businesses?
Yeah, the statistics are indicating quite severe backlogs in terms of be it financial and non-financial support for existing businesses, which is why this program, this funding initiative, for tools of trade is targeted towards existing ones. Then once we've eradicated the backlogs and we're satisfied in terms of economic data, which is released on a quarterly basis, we can therefore look into startups into the near future. But for now, we're only focusing on existing ones.
Okay. Talk to us about the timelines for the application process, and of course, how soon thereafter, after the briefing and everything else, can businesses then expect some kind of feedback?
Most important is the briefing session on the 10th. That's this coming Thursday. From there, application documents are equally available from the municipal website, and those will be made available post the briefing session. And then the proposals must reach the municipality on or before the 25th of October 2024 at 1200 hours. And we're looking into the month of November for us to run our evaluation and adjudication processes, so that before the bill does break in December, we would have done justice to those which will have met the requirements.
Yeah. Is there any kind of administrative support for business owners that maybe might struggle with meeting the requirements of documentation?
Yes, there is our LED manager. On the advert which we have issued, excuse me, on the advert which we have issued, we have indicated the details of Mr. William Caesar. His number is 013-986-9160. There's also the email address. And this is going to be ventilated upon during the briefing session as well, to say, do not die in silence. If there's anything which you require in terms of advice and administrative support, do reach out to the municipality. We are a government of the people, and our primary objective is to ensure that we support businesses, among other sectors, within the municipality. Bridget.
Awesome stuff. I think we've covered all the important stuff. Thank you so much for the time. That was Dumsani Mahlangu, Municipal Manager of the Tembisile Hani local municipality. So an opportunity for you there if you are a small, medium or micro enterprise, a cooperative or non-profit, working in the sectors of manufacturing, tourism, agricultural services, as well as informal trades, salons, catering, plumbing, and construction. They are offering you an opportunity to plug into this 5 million rand grant that they've got available, and empowering you with the necessary tools of trade. And you just have to make sure that you've got all the necessary documentation. But as you heard, the 10th of October is where that compulsory briefing session is going to be held, and that's where you'll get all of that pertinent information, as well as information maybe support structures that you might require if you feel like you're missing a few things from your application pack. It's just gone 1:30 on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga. It's time for us to catch up with Dineo and see what's on the headline news.
Thank you, Bridget. Let's take a look at the headlines at 1:30. A very good afternoon. Trade Union Federation COSATU says the government of national unity can expect more protest action by workers in the future as long as it remains unresponsive to their demands. In other news, the Office of the Pension Fund Adjudicator says it has seen an increase in complaints lodged by workers who want to withdraw their savings component of the newly implemented two-port retirement system. And the legal team for accused number 3, Mthobisi Mncube, in the Senzo Mayua murder trial, alleged that their client has been kept in solitary confinement for more than 4 years. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
All right, getting into our next conversation now, we are catching up with the folks at Google, and they are inviting Black SA founders to apply for startup funding as part of their Startups Accelerator Africa Black Funders program. Sia Madigani is joining us now to give us all the necessary information. How are you doing this afternoon?
Good, Bridget, and how are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. So, in a very significant move to bolster innovation and entrepreneurship, Google has opened up applications for their Startups Accelerator Africa program. Give us some context around this particular program.
Well, thank you once again for having me, Bridget. I think the fund itself is just a reflection of our commitment to the startup ecosystem in South Africa. We recognize the important role that entrepreneurship plays in terms of the economy, but also social development of our country. We also seen with some research that has come out, or the news that we've seen, that there's less deals being made. But even when those deals are being made, there's less funding that's available to black tech startups. And so then we decided to sort of come up with a solution in the form of this founders program, which is really aimed at 15, with targeting 15 to select 15 black owned startups, which will receive equity-free cash awards of up to $50,000, which is around R1 million, and as well as Google credits up to 200,000 per startup that's selected on the program. But beyond the monetary value that they will receive, they will also have a chance or an opportunity to receive one-on-one training, as well as networking with some mentors who are already running businesses, would be able to help them address some of the unique challenges that their businesses face as they're running them. So this is a fund really aimed at companies or businesses that are already started, already operating, must have done some seed or Series A funding raise, really in operation, got a sort of product that has got the potential to improve the African ecosystem, but also can be globally scaled. And then they're in the tech space, headquartered in South Africa, or has a leadership team that is South African by nature.
I mean, I feel as if I'm going to have you double back on some of these points, Sia, because you've run through the gauntlet of our conversation all in one breath. And you say something interesting that, research points to the fact that there's less deals being made and even lesser of those deals and funding going to black startups. And I wonder, what does that tell us, or what does that say then about whether the readiness of black startups or their inability to locate and access funding and funders? Does this give us any information that could be of use to those who are in the space?
Yeah, for us, there are very few reasons why this might be the case. But for us, we just came in and said, okay, what can we do on our part? There could be many other very few reasons why this is happening. But from our point, how do we then try and sort of resolve this? As you know, in Africa, we've got 1.2 billion people. Only about 350 million of them are on the internet. So for us, digital transformation is quite key to grow in this market. And we see huge potential. As you know, Africa's got the youngest sort of population in the world. So the future really is African, and we're trying to make sure that we do a part. So, in terms of infrastructure play, we launched about 2021. Our CEO announced that we'll be investing $1 billion into the African continent. And this is part of that rollout, We've launched Equiano, which is Equiano subsea cable, which we launched about 2 years ago, really aimed at reducing the cost of data, but also increasing the number of people who are able to use the internet without lag, making sure that we get good quality internet, so that even the businesses that operate there are able to deliver to their customers the best possible sort of products at the right appropriate level. So we've done that play, and now we're also getting involved in terms of, and we've been doing it, getting involved in sort of the entrepreneurship space. You would know that we've done things like the Hustle Academy, which is aimed at sort of the smaller SMBs that are really starting out, but also the Black Founders Fund, which has been running for a while now. And now this one is specifically for South Africans, making sure that we continue that journey where we impact 15, hopefully 15 black tech startups that will apply. And then every year for the next 4 years, we'll be able to run the fund and make sure that we see this business scale up and providing employment to people, and also providing skills and also, fighting poverty and such in our country.
Awesome stuff. Let's talk about, the criteria for this. And you did say that you mentioned a few things. Top of the pops, obviously, is that the startup must have a Black South African founder. Give us the list again of some of that criteria, just so that people can note that down somewhere safely?
Thank you for that question, Bridget. I think it's quite an important one. So some of the sort of entry criteria includes the following, right? They must demonstrate traction. So there must be already, as I said, have done some seed or Series A stage funding build, but also be building a product that's scalable or a service that's scalable with a significant addressable market being located in South Africa. But they must also be deeply technical. So they must be leveraging technologies such as AI or machine learning, but also they must be committed once they get selected to the program to participate in all the sessions. As you know, we've opened applications now on the 27th of September. We'll be closing those on the 14th. Once the 14th happens, we'll then announce the cohort on the 12th of November, and we'll be doing quite a variety of programs to make sure that we engage the selected cohort thoroughly. So we then want them to be committed to the duration of that period. But also, then as I already said, that it must be a black-led technology startup within South Africa.
Yeah, and by way of, they say they obviously have to be available for the duration of the program. Let's unpack and talk a little bit about what that might look like. Let's elaborate on some of the mentorship opportunities that are available within the program, as well as how the mentors perhaps plug in and the resource that they bring to some of these startup funders.
Yeah, I can't really go into details on that because that's the privilege that they will receive. Okay. What I can tell you,
you can give us highlights.
Yes, exactly. So in terms of those, what we've done previously, you always get an engagement with mentors. So they brought into one space where they're able to engage on different types of their businesses, and then we bring in a professional who's able to give them sort of that information. So, for example, if your company is struggling, let's say, with some software sort of development part of your business, we're able to get you in touch with someone who specializes that from our side, who's able to help you resolve the solution that easily and cheaper, because ultimately you won't be paying for that service. But also besides that, you also get the network sessions where we travel. The cohort will be traveling to Cape Town, for example. The selected cohort for this year travel to Cape Town, and they have sessions for around 3-4 days where they're engaging on the different types of things. So whether that's digital marketing, whether it's business-specific topics, they engage with the rest of their cohort and be able to learn from each other. So those are some of the things that are covered in sort of the program. And the program runs obviously from November now. It will run up until March. So the selected cohort will then be involved at different times of the period of the program. Yeah.
You did mention that obviously Google's commitment here, over and above just the 15 black startups for 2024, but you committed long term to rolling out this program every year for the next 4 years, is what I heard you say. And I mean, a long-term view says a lot about Google and your willingness to really have a more sustainable impact within the landscape of the territories that you operate within.
Yes, 100%. So as I said, our commitment to the continent is there. It's been announced. We've spoken about it, and we've invested quite a lot of money. So I already mentioned the Equiano subsea cable. We've also just actually announced the Umoja cable, which will connect the continent to Australia. That's already starting to be built, and really some of these programs are at the back end of those. But we know that there will be a lot more Africans, and we're hoping that there will be a lot more Africans going on the internet, being able to leverage the power of technology to build their businesses and achieve a global scale, and we just want to be there to support them. And as you know, our mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful, and really just forms part of our mission.
Awesome. Just to reconfirm, anybody that is interested, where do they go in order to submit all the necessary application packs?
Yeah, so it's startup.google.com/programs/accelerator/Africa. They should come to a landing page where then they will be able to click on the apply now that's prominent on the front of that page. So startup.google.com programs/accelerator/Africa, and then add your application on the appropriate section of the page.
Awesome.
And then, you should be hearing from us once the applications close on the 14th of October. And we encourage all black-owned tech businesses to please apply and use this opportunity to grow their businesses and make sure that they become part of the solution in terms of creating a future that we all want in Africa.
Wonderful stuff. Sia Madigane, thank you so much for the time. And that was Sia on behalf of Google for the Startups Accelerator Africa Black Founders Program. You heard where to go and you got all the necessary information. Take a quick pause on SAFM.
Africa from Within follows the journey of our anchor presenters who travel to various locations in order to delve into the inner workings and untold stories of the unsung heroes. At its core, Africa from Within is all about grassroots storytelling and the showcasing of the conservation contributions of ordinary people to Africa. It aims to engage and entertain viewers, educate and promote conservation, and inspire viewers to value our natural heritage. Don't miss Africa from Within on SABC2 every Friday at 7 p.m.
The reality is that 90% of South Africans don't save enough for retirement. This National Seniors Month, why not be part of the 10% who do? Choose an interest rate of up to 11.7% after 60 months with a Nedbank Electronic Optimum Plus account. Anyone 55 and over can open one on the Money app in less than 2 minutes. Go to nedbank.co.za for more info. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe said, the exponential growth and global competitiveness of football in Africa has resulted in substantial interests from major African and international broadcasters in African football. SABC has been participating competitively in the CAF media rights bids. CAF welcomes them as partners, joining a number of CAF's media rights holders. We are committed to ensuring that CAF's competitions, including its broadcast products, are world-class.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Myths versus facts. I'm too young to get breast cancer. Many women under age 40 are diagnosed with breast cancer. Men can't get breast cancer. 1 in 922 men have a lifetime risk of breast cancer. I have never had children and can therefore not get breast cancer. Women who haven't had children or only had them after 30 have an increased risk of breast cancer. Breast Cancer Awareness Month on SAFM. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
It is the Full Circle on SAFM with myself, Bridget Masinga, and we continue our conversation with my guest now, Sisa Patswa, who is the Head of Education Development at Kagiso Trust. And of course, they have announced a interesting competition, the Sasol and Kagiso Trust National Skills Competition, which recently concluded, by the way, its finals here in Johannesburg, that was spotlighting South Africa's next generation of skilled artisans. So what is that all saying? We're a day and $1 short, but we can still reflect on the competition nonetheless. How are you doing this afternoon, Sisa?
Good afternoon, Bridget, and the listeners. I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Let's reflect a little bit on, the Sasol and Kagiso Trust National Skills Competition. Perhaps maybe let's get some retrospective context around what is the competition or what it entails.
So, Bridget, maybe just to give a context why Kagiso Trust and Sasol Foundation, this is in line with our organizational statement of igniting human capacity, and we do that through partnerships and collaborations. And this one with Sasol, it's one of those collaboration where we aimed to uplift the technical stream within the educational framework of the three-stream model by DBE. And we do that with the sole purpose of lifting up the T in the STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics, and innovation. And with that, we hope that we are contributing, not that we are hoping, we know we are contributing to the development of the artisans in the country.
And very important work, I think that is, it sort of piggybacks on the conversation that I've just had. And it plugs in quite beautifully as well to the National Development Plan's goals for producing 30,000 artisans annually by 2030.
Yes. It does in a way that these skills competitions within the education and vocational education, it emphasizes the importance of the technical skills, but alongside ensuring that as we do that, we have a goal. Why we are doing what we are doing, we want to contribute to the NDP 2030 target of 30 artisans annually. But also we believe that if people don't know what is it that is out there and they are not aware how it can contribute not only to them as individuals but to the country, then they won't participate. That is why we are igniting the passion at a very early stage from the learners so that they are inspired to pursue the different vocations that are within the space, including exploring what are the career options that are there in terms of different career pathways. But we also want to boost the talent that is already there, which might not have surfaced, and using that, partnering with industries where our young people are exposed to different latest industry machinery, including industry technicians that are able to give them advice, but not only advice, also what they are doing, they know that it has a bigger goal in contributing to the development of the economy in the country, but not only development of the economy, but it has a potential of alleviating poverty, because these are the young people that don't need to wait for university to start doing something. They can start as early as now being entrepreneurs and becoming employers and starting their own businesses that can thrive. But also as a country, as we're looking with the skills, we see an opportunity to take these young people to to higher platforms in the global stage. Bridget, this is our competitions. They happen just immediately when the World Skills ended. And we realize that where we are, we have a potential to also contribute to young people that can represent South Africa in those platforms.
Yeah, very important work indeed. And I think also it just does a lot for vocational careers, which oftentimes, especially in those, those adolescent phases of schooling, oftentimes are not given the same kind of credit or the same kind of PRing as other careers, for instance. Let's talk also. I read that in the running of the program, you found that every year the number of girl learners who not only participate but also win the respective categories is actually escalating. And I love that, because I think it says a lot about, female learners, girl learners in these spaces that are oftentimes seen as more male-focused, more dominated spaces.
Definitely. And by the way, Bridget, this was a competition not only for the learners, also for the teachers, because part of our support in the education space with schools, we focus around the teacher. And we had teachers who were winning in the trades such as construction. And this has previously been a male-dominated area, as we have said. We have so many girl children winning also in these different trades that were not explored by women before. And that is exciting for us. Hence, we always make sure that when we go to provinces, we encourage the provinces that they must encourage all teachers of all genders even from the learners to be part of this. Because as they do that, it ignites the passion for the technical skills, and they can see that it is not a skill or it is not traits that are gender-based, but anyone who is able and with the required resources, you can do them.
Let's also focus a little bit on the long-term engagements of the competition. What strategies, or are there already strategies in place just to maintain the engagement with participants beyond the build-up to competition and obviously competition period?
Yes. Part of what we've successfully done, especially this year, we started, in fact, in 2022. It was, I think, about 3 provinces and not so much big numbers. Last year, the numbers were fairly good, but this year we increased the numbers from 5 provinces to 8 provinces participating. We are working with provincial officials, and we have also increased the number of industry or businesses that are
organizations that continuously run that
were part of this to about 10 in this current year. These are the businesses that have given scholarship sponsorship to the winners. They have also given apprenticeship to these young people. And some of these learners, they are currently in grade 10 or 11. They already have an apprenticeship when they finish their grade 12. We've got teachers that have received scholarships, which will also assist them in harnessing and honing their skill as they help learners to develop their practicals.
Wonderful.
So the discussions are continuing because we're in partnership with DPE. We are in partnership with the industry. Whatever that we do, we make sure that it's not only for Sasol Foundation or Kagiso Trust, but we embed this development within the education space, but also within the business requirements.
Yeah.
So that whatever we do, it's absorbed at a particular level.
And by way of the engagement that you've had with participating schools and students and educators, what has been, perhaps even just industry folks who have plugged in to the competition, what have been some of the feedback, you know, from the various stakeholders, educators, participants, just speaking to maybe the continuous improvement of the competition and perhaps the relevance of competitions like this in these particular sectors and industries?
One of the greatest feedbacks that we've had is that the Department of Education within the Technical Education Support Directorate led by NEDESRI, there is currently a community of practice of technical teachers, a WhatsApp group that has about 724 teachers from all over South Africa participating in that group. And this is the space where teachers are supporting each other. This is the space that allows the department, because they don't have officials that can go to each and every district or circuit or province to even conduct their teacher development support. But also for the teachers, we find that often they will be reaching out to say, is there anyone who can assist me on this one? It's removing the dependence. The teachers are starting to do things on their own, but also with the young people. We've received feedback from some schools that these young people have started to do their own businesses in their schools. There are those that we got a report in Mpumalanga. They are now doing the rice stands and selling them to their communities. And you can see that with further support and coaching and mentoring, these are the people that can really save this country and create more job opportunities. Also, the increase of participation over the years, it is a testament to us that the teachers see value on this, the learners see value on this, and the participation of business in supporting the initiative. It also confirms the value add that they see.
By way of our last point, Caesar, let's quickly touch on, and you mentioned, of course, apprenticeship opportunities for competition participants and winners. Are we seeing more industry coming through to collaborate or opening their doors to collaborate and give opportunities not just to the competition winners perhaps, but even extend future partnerships to students and participants?
Definitely, we're seeing that. We have a lineup even after the competition starting in this week of industries that have said, hey, come to the table, let's engage, let's see how we can contribute on this. So there is a benefit, there is value that industry is seeing, and we are looking forward for more prospective partners that can collaborate and join us, not only as a once-off support, but in making sure that the technical stream is developed and it is given the attention and resources that it desires.
Wonderful. Sisa, we appreciated the time with you this afternoon. That was Sisa Mpatswe, Head of Education Development at Kagiso Trust, just giving us some feedback in as far as the Sasol and Kagiso Trust National Skills Competition, which already concluded. We are running up to the top of the hour, and we're going to come back on the other side of 2 o'clock, and we are going to be in conversation with researcher from the Human Sciences Research Council, and we're looking at job satisfaction in South Africa, the quest for job quality. And here's what we want to find out from you. In today's economic climate, should we still be considering job satisfaction versus just getting any kind of employment security? Does it matter to you and to your friends right now whether or not you are satisfied in your job, in your place of employment, or the thing that matters the most is the fact that you have a job right now? You have some kind of employment and financial security, and everything else is put on the back burner. So we'd love to hear from you. 061-410-4107 or 086-000-2032. At this, in this current climate, should we even be concerned with matters of how satisfied we are at our respective jobs, or should we just be happy that we have a job at all? 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line.
The Leopards and Taifa Stars have a big battle in the top of the table clash. DRC is only interested in 3 points to maintain their winning rhythm, while the East Africans also want victory to sustain their unbeaten run in Group H. This is the Total Energies AFCON 2025 qualifier. Experience the journey to Morocco, DR Congo versus Tanzania on Thursday, 10 October at 6 p.m. Live everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365, Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
Top stories: COSATU promises more protests in future, and China reacts to Pakistan blast. With the news, I'm Dinomo Daun. Good afternoon. Trade Federation COSATU said Government of National Unity can expect more protest action by workers in the future as long as it remains unresponsive to their demands. This is according to COSATU's first Deputy President Mike Shingange speaking outside the Johannesburg Stock Exchange on the Labour Federation's National Day of Action today. Thousands of workers across the country have taken to the streets to call for a moratorium on retrenchments as well as decent pay and working conditions. Shingange elaborates.
This is not the first and the only activity we're going to have. We're going to be rolling mass action yards. Even by the time when the Minister of Finance gives the budget speech in Parliament, we will also be there as a follow-up to this budget. But of course, we're also engaging in other forums and other engagements. But as you can see, this is the first response of the workers and the working class to the government of national unity. So for as long as they don't hear and listen to the working class, we can promise them that we will have no peace in government, because this is what I'm going to be seeing almost on a regular basis until they listen to the workers.
In other news, the Office of the Pension Fund Adjudicator says it has seen an increase in complaints lodged by workers who want to withdraw their savings component of the newly implemented two-port retirement system. The two-port retirement system came into effect on the 1st of September this year. The Office of the Pension Fund Adjudicator says for the 2023-24 financial year, it has received a total of 9,177 grievances. Eva Chiba reports.
According to the Office of the Pension Fund Adjudicator, all the disputes registered relate to withdrawal benefits, including non-compliance with the statutory provisions of the Pension Fund Act by both the public and private sectors. Pension Fund Adjudicator Muvango Rukaimane has disclosed this in a report of the entity tabled before Parliament for the financial year under review. She says this increase represents a 25% rise from the previous financial year, and some of the transgressions that have been identified include employers who are defaulting and paying over pension contributions to pension fund managers.
The legal team for accused number 3, Mtobi Simncube, in the Senzo Mayua murder trial alleged that their client has been kept in solitary confinement for more than 4 years. They are asking for the court's intervention, saying the situation is impacting negatively on the client's mental well-being. Ncube and 4 other accused are on trial for the 2014 murder of the Bafana captain who was shot and killed in Vosloorus on Gauteng's East Rand. Presiding Judge Arata Mokgatleng advised Ncube to bring an urgent application.
I've never heard of a separation of child at this late stage. Never.
But does the court really understand, my lord?
I do.
To stay in solitary confinement.
I do. That's why.
For 4 years. What does it do to the mind of a person?
That's why I became concerned.
Yes.
I engaged the JP. I engaged the Directorate of Inspections. And I even went to the law. Concerns a Bill of Rights. That's all it concerns.
It also hinders me because instructions that are coming from him, at some stage, they don't make sense. You can see that this is the psychologically impaired instruction.
Still in the courts, the court case of the 3 accused in the matter of the housebreaking at President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala game farm has been postponed to 26 November for pre-trial hearings at the Mudimule Magistrates Court in Limpopo. Emanuela David Florina Joseph and Ndilinasho Joseph face charges of housebreaking, theft and conspiracy to commit housebreaking with intent to steal. They allegedly stole $580,000 at the president's farm in February 2020. Siblings Floriana and Ndilinasho Joseph have each been released on 5,000 rand and 10,000 rand bail respectively. The magistrate in the matter, Peter Mantata.
This matter is postponed until the 26th of November. For pre-trial conference. Number 1, you are still in custody. 2 and 3 on extended bail. Warrant of passage, this court failure to come. Warrant of arrest authorized against you bail money forfeited to the state. Number 1, do you understand?
Lastly, China has urged its nationals in Pakistan to be vigilant after what it called a terrorist attack near Karachi airport in which 2 Chinese nationals were killed. The Chinese embassy urged the Pakistani authorities to conduct a thorough investigation into an explosion that destroyed a number of vehicles. The BBC's Laura Bicker has the details.
The Chinese embassy in Pakistan has strongly condemned what it described as a terrorist attack on a Chinese-funded enterprise. Thousands of Chinese workers are in Pakistan. Many of them are involved in creating an economic corridor between the 2 countries. The separatist Balochistan Liberation Army has regularly targeted Chinese interests and accuses Beijing of helping the Pakistani government exploit the region.
Recapping the top story this hour, Trade Federation COSATU says the government of national unity can expect more protest action by workers in the future as long as it remains unresponsive to their demands. Headlines at 2:30 for SAFM News. I am Dino Mataung.
Africa from Within follows the journey of our anchor presenters who travel to various locations in order to delve into the inner workings and untold stories of the unsung heroes. At its core, Africa from Within is all about grassroots storytelling and the showcasing of the conservation contributions of ordinary people to Africa. It aims to engage and entertain viewers, educate and promote conservation, and inspire viewers to value our natural heritage. Don't miss Africa from Within on SABC2 every Friday at 7 p.m. CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe said, the exponential growth and global competitiveness of football in Africa has resulted in substantial interests from major African and international broadcasters in African football. SABC has been participating competitively in the CAF media rights bids. CAF welcomes them as partners, joining a number of CAF's media rights holders. We are committed to ensuring that CAF's competitions, including its broadcast products, are world-class.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
It is Malay with Sogalam. Nice and mellow track. Perfect for a Monday afternoon as we ease ourselves into the professional week. Speaking of easing ourselves into the professional week, on Mondays, right? I'm sure you've picked it up by now that on Mondays our conversations tend to steer more towards professional and academic opportunities and avenues of exploration. But also we then have a focus just on professional development at some point during our conversations and even unpacking some data and studies that speak to this, or the peripheral of this, right? And we woke up this morning with COSATU, the Trade Federation, as you heard Dineo recapping in the headline news, staging a countrywide strike action today. And they've promised more protests to come in future for as long as the GNU remains unresponsive. And part of the motivation behind their taking to the streets today across Cape Town, Durban, Johannesburg, was in part to protest against joblessness, as well as rising costs of living and stagnant pay. And this ties into the conversation that we are going to have now around job satisfaction in South Africa. And of course, our lines are open. And the question on the table for you was whether or not job satisfaction is something that's even a consideration right now in 2024 as a working South African, or you are just grateful and blessed to have a job. And so whether or not, that job provides you satisfaction, whether or not that job pushes you towards innovation or pushes you towards your own personal and professional growth and challenges you, is neither here nor there, because you have a job and have a means to provide for yourself and your family. And so we'd love to hear, or maybe those things still matter to you, you know what I mean, even against the context of everything that's going on. We'd love to hear from you on 061-410-4107. That is our WhatsApp line, 086-000-2032. Joining me now is Dr. Bongiwe Mwango, Chief Research Specialist in the Equitable Education and Economies Research Division of the Human Sciences Research Council, the HSRC for short. And job satisfaction still plays a very crucial role in fostering a productive workplace, reflecting the interplay between individual characteristics and workplace rewards. And so on the back of that, this study then investigates the determinants and distribution of job satisfaction amongst employed South Africans. But let me not be the person who intros us into the conversation and helps us understand the context of the study. Good afternoon to you, Dr. Bongiwe. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon to you. I'm doing very well, thank you. And thank you so much for having me in the show.
It's only a pleasure. We appreciate the time. Even though I've given just a small little crumb of context, I think you can give us a broader context around, the motivation behind the study.
Okay, so this is a project that's really close to my heart. For a very reason that employment is central to our lives, and the quality of one's job is therefore a key component of overall, individual well-being. And yet, I found that the topic of job quality has really occupied a very limited space in our models of workplaces. And we're finding that concepts such as job satisfaction seem to be really underdeveloped, and therefore their utility seems to be kind of elusive. And the argument I'm putting forward is that this neglect is really kind of perilous in a context where there is mounting evidence that, global contemporary workplaces do not really align in its construction in the global north, and continue to expose workers to patterns of employment and work arrangements that seem to be associated with precarious work and worker insecurity, which is why then my argument is that, the contemporary challenges that we are seeing in the workplace really are calling for ventures into. We need more studies, we need more data around the notions of job quality or job satisfaction. And really, it's been neglected for quite some time, and it makes sense because we've been preoccupied with dialogues around how can we make, create more jobs. However, it seems as if we know more about unemployment than we do about, the employment experiences and so forth. And with the work that I've done, it's really showing that we don't know much about what South Africans prefer, what attributes in a job really, speaks to them, because we are so preoccupied with trying to get those that are outside the labor market into the labor market. So all I'm saying is that we need to just reflect a bit now to say, okay, let's just take stock of the kind of jobs that we have so that we can just ensure that the jobs that we have are of good quality. So what I did in my study was to really just use job satisfaction as a proxy indicator of job quality.
All right. I want to explore a little bit more about some of the findings, perhaps, that came out of your work. But just looking at the time, I think it would be a great time for us to take our ad break here, and then we'll come back on the other side and continue.
Mubango returns for an explosive new season on SABC2. A renaissance of new beginnings, intrigue, and drama with old enemies and new characters. Catch the rebirth season of Mubango every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. on SABC2 or stream it on SABC Plus. Mubango, ukovela panda. SABC2.
The world's best football league makes its return to S3. Will Arsenal finally win their first title since 2004? Or will Man City continue their dominance of the league and win their 7th title under Pep Guardiola? Will the Dutchmen in Erik ten Hag and Arne Slot have something to say as Man United and Liverpool step in to contest for the title? But it's not only about winning the title. For some of the 20 teams, it's a chance to improve on their performances from last season. While for others, it's the battle to avoid relegation and stay in the top flight. Every team has a point to prove. This is not just football. This is a masterpiece being played out every weekend. Channel your best sport with the English Premier League. Saturdays at 3 p.m. on S3. Open up.
Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
We are in conversation now with Dr. Bongiwe of the HSRC. And she's helping us understand some of the work that she's undertaken around job satisfaction and the quest for job quality in South Africa. Let's get a good grasp as well as to some of the findings that were revealed during the study and the data that have come out from the work.
So at this stage, maybe I should also just unpack the concept of job satisfaction, because it's also
actually
a bit fluid. Yeah. So I just took it just as a general feeling, or global feeling about the job. So about how you feel about your job. Sometimes it can also be seen as some sort of a constellation of attitudes about the different aspects, of a job. So I just, simplistically put, it's just about how one feels about his job. Okay, so having said that, maybe I should just share two of the key findings. So the study was really exploratory, as I indicated. That is the area of job quality is really close to my heart. So I started tracking the job satisfaction trends in 2005. So I looked at over 5 waves: 2005, 2011, 2013, 2015. And unfortunately, I just received the data for 2026, so I haven't really engaged with the data post-COVID, which could have been, which I think is also going to be an interesting analysis, considering some of the changes and developments that the COVID-19 or the pandemic, has brought about. So, an interesting. Okay, so let me just start with just looking at the trends. When you're just looking at the averages between the years of interest, let's just say 2005 to 2015. So we are trending just between 65% and 67%. So there has really not been much movement in those trends. But what's interesting is that if we're using that as just a general measure, we'll say that South African workers seem to be generally, satisfied with their jobs. And maybe with that, I should just indicate that for the analysis, I actually only focused on those individuals that indicated to be employed either full-time or part-time. So that was just the first takeaway to say, okay, so we really just between 65% and 67%. So the average is actually around 67% when we're just looking at the distribution of job satisfaction levels across the different years. And then secondly, and which I thought was quite interesting, because as I argue that we don't know much about, what are the preferences. Yes, there is a number of intervention programs that, that we are rolling out. But it's also important just to be in touch, with our public to say, what matters to you the most. I mean, we know that each and everyone's job, we've got different characteristics. When you're looking at job security, when you look at the extent to which, you interact with your peers, when you're looking at the levels of earnings, the extent to which your job is interesting, or you feel that your job is useful to the society. So what I did was just to, to reflect on this, to say, okay, what really matters for South Africans? Is it the earnings? Is it job security? And what I did was to cluster these different attributes to either intrinsic, or extrinsic. Extrinsic to have domains such as income and so forth. And intrinsic will have things like, interesting job, the job that one finds to be meaningful, a job that is useful to society. But what was really interesting was that actually most people seem to want job security. It came out strongly across the different years as an attribute that many of the South Africans actually seek from their workspaces. I know many people, I also expected income, earnings, but it was just interesting to say, okay, people actually care about whether they will have employment the next day, that consistent flow of income tend to matter. And in that as well, I also noticed that opportunities for advancement is also quite aligned to the extent to which one's job is daily, right? Also seems to matter the most. So I think, those were just some of the two takeaway findings that I found to be very interesting.
I want to, Dr. Bongiwe, I want to just explore a little bit, but I just don't want to interject, intrinsic and extrinsic factors, or the intrinsic and extrinsic focus of the study. Talk to us about that and how it's sort of shifted from one to the other over the years.
Okay. So, let me just revisit that again. So the main question was, what do South African workers want from employment?
Yes. And
what came out is that actually, whilst we appreciate jobs with both like intrinsic jobs, that are meaningful, that have, and extrinsic good status, with good earning and so forth. Many people also place value on the extrinsic characteristics, but of course, that's where it becomes important to do a bit of disaggregation, to look at, the role of age, to look at the occupational category, because those are some of the factors that can also influence the public perceptions in terms of what they feel is important. So in a nutshell, it's a number of factors that actually feed into one's perception on whether they prioritize the intrinsic or the extrinsic aspect of a job.
Got you. By way of job satisfaction, what areas of satisfaction or quality do you think that we need to maybe cast our focus a little bit more on? And this obviously coming out of the work that you've done thus far. Can you guide us a little bit there?
Okay, so just based on this exploratory piece that I've done, it's job security. It's job security. And unfortunately, with all the employment, with most of the employment programs that we have, are really seeking towards, getting the youth absorbed, just using that as an example when you're looking at like the youth labor market programs, just to give them a bit of experience. However, what is important is just to ensure that they do get absorbed by the companies where they are doing internships, where they are doing learnerships, etc., etc. So I think what is coming out clearly is just the importance of job security.
Yeah. Were there any contrasts maybe by way of, developing countries, South Africa and other parts of the world? Were there any patterns or contrasts or trends that you've perhaps picked up?
In the second round, I'm comparing Mexico and Australia, and unfortunately, from our African countries, we don't have any that participating in this survey at the moment. But going forward, I think with the 2023 data, then I'll be able to do some, more interesting exploration to try just to see how we fare. Being in the developing countries. But the evidence does show that, it shows positive trends between countries with like jobs of high quality, if I can say that way, as well as economic development. And again, it's just underscoring that argument that we don't have to leave the focus on job quality to when, we've got satisfactory levels of employment, to say it can move towards the same direction.
Absolutely. Dr. Bongiwe Mwango, thank you so much for your time. And she's the Chief Research Specialist in Equitable Education and Economies at the Research Division of the Human Sciences Research Council. It's just gone 2:30. It's time for us to catch up with the headline news with Dineo, and then we're going to get into our kids programming with Kids Corner.
Thank you very much, Bridget. Good afternoon. Let's take a look at the headlines at 2:30. Disgruntled community members in Naledi, Soweto have closed down foreign-owned spaza shops. This following the shocking deaths of 5 children aged under 10 in the area. It is alleged that the children ate snacks bought from a local spaza shop over the weekend. In other news, Trade Federation COSATU says the government of national unity can expect more protest action by workers in the future as long as it remains unresponsive to their demands. And U.S. President Joe Biden says he and his administration remained fully committed to the safety of the Jewish people, the security of Israel, and its right to exist. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365, Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
I mean, I thought we were going into Kids Corner, and then they tell me that no, we are not going into Kids Corner. In fact, we are going into a conversation with my next guest, Ilona Fox, who is the managing director at iCandy CQ, and we're looking at mental health beyond just the surface and embracing neurodiversity in the workplace. And the question on the table is, your workplace truly inclusive? How are you doing this afternoon, Ilona? You good?
Hi, Bridget. I'm good. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on your show this afternoon.
Thank you for the time. Firstly, can I get confirmation? Is it more Ilona or Ilona?
Ilona.
Ilona. Thank you so much. All right. So today we know that obviously businesses, the business landscape is rapidly evolving. Inclusivity has become a buzzword, in our social and professional context. But how many organizations, or should I say, how are organizations faring in making the necessary adjustments and embracing diversity, not only across race and gender and culture, but also looking at, themes and issues around neurodiversity?
Yes. So, Bridget, it's such an important question. I think that while many companies have made significant progress in embracing diversity across race, gender, religion, sexuality, even age, one very critical dimension is often overlooked, being neurodiversity. And I think especially in South Africa, where, given our history as a country, the primary focus when it comes to developing and implementing DEI programs has very much been framed around addressing some of those more, commonly known inequalities. And but I think what we're seeing more of, especially when it comes to some of the larger tech companies and multinationals, is that they're almost leading the way in developing strategies that create a more neuro-friendly workplace as such. I think, inclusion is about embracing the not always visible differences too, and it's also about dispelling myths and not stereotyping individuals. So having worked with a number of large blue chip companies within the internal comms and employee engagement space, the progress in this regard locally has been slower than some of our international counterparts. I think in terms of, from a conversation and popular culture has made us more aware of autism, autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, but it's still not completely, fully understood in the workplace. And I think it's, less about really seeing it as a program or initiative, but really it should be forming part of DEI policies and more a way of doing things differently to really be of benefit to everyone. So.
And what would you say attributes to the slow integration or the slow transformation in the workplace?
I think it comes from, there has been a lot of inequalities to address. And I think up until now, up until recently, really just if you have to think back a couple of years ago, we weren't really, there was a lot of stigma around conditions like autism or ADHD and so on. So it wasn't really seen as almost possibly being of advantage to companies. I think what is interesting is that as new data is coming out, we're seeing that at least 15 to 20% of the population may be neurodivergent, which means someone in your workplace could be dealing with challenges that you don't know about. And I think it's also, there's a level of educating companies around the advantages of being inclusive. I think if you look at, at companies who have embraced neurodiversity as part of their DEI program, and where they're creating internal communications that is inclusive of neurodiverse individuals, they're actually seeing a massive benefit. You've got individuals who bring very creative, out-of-the-box thinking into the workplace, which leads to a more innovative environment. It leads to higher performance and so on. So I think slowly the wheel's turning, and I think more and more we'll start seeing it being something that forms, as part of our inclusion processes and communication, the way in which we communicate with our employees.
Absolutely. And I think, you alluded to it, that perhaps a big part of the problem was the lack of awareness and education, even just socially amongst ourselves and community, because community and society ultimately make up the work landscapes and the work environments. And so the more we have these kinds of engagements, the more I think, professional spaces begin to transform, because 15% is the number that you shared with us. 15% is a significant number of a potential workforce to be left behind.
It is. No, absolutely. And I think, it becomes quite crucial when you're thinking from a company perspective. A key driver when it comes to company performance is employee engagement. So if you're excluding 15% of your employees when thinking about how do we engage our employees, what are the drivers to improving employee engagement, you possibly, it's a very big missed opportunity with your existing employees. Likewise, when you're recruiting and you're not taking into consideration how inclusive you are in your recruitment processes, and are you reflecting a culture that attracts the talent that exists within neurodiverse communities. It's probably a big missed opportunity for employers.
Absolutely. Let's touch a little bit on, the kinds of training or resources perhaps that could be provided to raise more awareness around neurodiversity, inclusivity within workspaces, and how effective have some of the strategies that maybe you've come across been in specific spaces?
Absolutely. I think, when you start educating employees about neurodiversity, you're really starting to create a more inclusive culture. So, for example, offering training programs that raise awareness and provide some practical strategies for supporting neurodiverse colleagues. It could, for example, be managers being exposed to training that helps them identify neurodiverse individuals in their team, give the way in which they give feedback to employees, perhaps as part of their leadership development training. I also think, it's important to use external awareness initiatives like Neurodiversity Week in March, or we have the World Mental Health Day coming up on Thursday, to create platforms for conversations around neurodiversity within the workplace. So, it might well be bringing in keynote speakers and creating inclusivity campaigns that reflect diversity beyond just we see on face value. Something that can be quite useful is, once you've created forums, perhaps to discuss, inclusivity, in terms of neurodiversity, in terms of, kind of all forms of inclusivity, to perhaps identify ambassadors within the company who identify as neurodiverse to share their lived experience with their colleagues. We often hear of the kind of more famous neurodiverse individuals like the, Elon Musk or Richard Branson's, but within a company there might well be employees who are willing to stand up and share their experience as part of forums, as part of platforms, be part of employer brand campaigns, for example.
Absolutely. Ilona, we have to leave it there for this afternoon, but we appreciate the time and the insights. That was Ilona Fox, Eye Candy CQ Managing Director. It's gone 3 o'clock. It is now time for Kids Corner.
This program is brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
Hi, my name is Asanda Chabalala and I'm 12 years old from Ekoli. Yes, I am well rested. My goals are to get 90% and above in every test and exam. I am planning to study 1 hour every day so I can achieve my goals. I plan on studying fun by studying with friends and asking each other questions. I prefer studying in a group and I'm planning to study 3 weeks before the exams.
Hello everyone, my name is Ashley Kabamba. I do believe I am well rested from the school holiday, but I do wish it could have been a little bit longer. The goals I have for my final term is just to get as many distinctions as possible. I think working hard to achieve my goal can be helpful for me to complete my goal much faster and can make it feel much easier. My plan to work hard to be able to achieve this goal is to dedicate more time into studying every day, even though I'm not writing. Few ways I could make studying more enjoyable this term for me is that I could turn it into a little game for myself or try to study in different places. I personally prefer studying alone, and since my goal involves getting many distinctions, I would have to start preparing for my final exams now.
Hello everyone, my name is Duretang Ndlovu and I go to Mokole House School. I would say that I am not well rested as I struggle to sleep early. My 2 biggest goals for this term are to study well and pass my term 4 exams with great marks. Working can help me achieve these goals in a good way, because when I work hard at school and while doing my homework, studying will become easy and effortless, which will help me pass my exams. Some ways in which I can make studying more fun is to have a quiz with my different family members. I definitely prefer studying alone because of the peace you have when you're alone. Unless it is revision at school with my teacher and my classmates, then I do not mind. I plan to start studying this week, starting from Monday the 7th of October.
Hi, my name is Danica Wood. Even though we just got back from holiday, I'm still not well rested. My goals for this term is to work harder and focus more in class. Working hard can help me improve my grades, and I'm going to work hard by trying to study everything or to go over my work at the end of each day. I can try and make studying fun by studying with a friend or some music. I prefer studying with a group because I feel like when I study with people, I can learn new things from them. I'm planning on prepping for my final exams this week so that I can be well prepared for my exams at the end of the year. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Yolanda Msobe. Today I'll be talking about back to school. I just got back to school from school holidays this week and I felt well rested. The goals I have for this last term is to achieve all the subjects and pass this term and go to grade 6. I think working hard can make me achieve my goals by studying, going to library and other school things. I'm planning to work hard by going to libraries, reading books, reading stories, studying maths, studying as a group with my friends, meeting, studying for 3 hours a day, studying maths, English, Afrikaans, history, geography, NS, and other subjects. The fun ways that can make studying more enjoyable this term is to study as a group with my friends, go to library as a group with my friends, because studying alone sometimes it might be boring. And if you don't understand everything, no one will explain for you. But if you are as a group, your friend might explain for you and you will get help. I'm planning to prepare for my final exam next week because we are still left with 4 or 5 weeks. 5 weeks to start our exam. So I'm starting next week to study for my exams because I want to pass and have a great future. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, friends, and happy Monday. As we dive into a new week, let's chat about some enjoyable and early tips to prepare for your final term. Now that you're back from the school holidays, it's the perfect time to start thinking about those year-end exams. I know exams can seem a bit daunting, but the sooner you start preparing, the easier and even more enjoyable they can be. So let's explore some ways to get ready that won't feel like a drag. First up, try creating a study schedule. Think of it as a roadmap for your study sessions. You don't have to spend hours each day. Just 30 minutes after school can make a big difference. Choose a different subject for each day to keep things fresh and avoid feeling overwhelmed. By planning ahead, you'll free more time for fun activities and reduce stress when exam time rolls around. Next, consider studying with friends. Good pals can make learning so much fun. You can quiz each other, explain tricky topics, or even play some educational games together. Group study sessions can help you grasp challenging subjects more effectively because you can collaborate, share insights, and support one another. Another way to make studying enjoyable is by using colorful notes, flashcards, or mind maps. Adding drawings or using various colors can help you remember key information. You might also explore apps or websites that offer educational games to reinforce your lessons. Lastly, don't forget to take breaks. After 15 to 30 minutes of studying, give yourself a little time to unwind, stretch, grab a snack, or do something fun for a few minutes. This is super important and will help you stay focused and energized. Start your exam prep as early as you can. Keep it fun and you'll be all set to ace those year-end exams. Remember, it's all about balance. Study a little each day, enjoy yourself, and you will do amazing.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
The Blue Sharks want to dive deep and secure 3 points to keep the second position in Group C. While the Zebras of Southern Africa are searching for their first win, they want to escape from the basement. Who will enjoy the final whistle dance of celebration? This is the Total Energies AFCON 2025 qualifier. Experience the journey to Morocco. Cape Verde versus Botswana on Thursday, 10 October at 6 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365, Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
I did say there's a lot going on. There's a lot currently going on today by way of the news cycle, and no doubt John is going to bring you all the latest on everything that's happening, updates on the COSATU national strike, which is probably over at this rate. And of course, today also, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, is the International Day of Commemoration for October the 7th. Those attacks on Israeli festival goers that triggered a rather serious geopolitical conflict that has affected the region, but also polarized, the global community one way or another. So today, literally, global faith-based leaders, activists, as well as peace-loving individuals have continued to call for a ceasefire, for the release of those hostages that are still held captive by Hamas, and of course the end of a war that has taken thousands of lives on both sides, including children, the youngest known victim being a Palestinian baby of 4 days old. That has, whose life was taken before it even begun. So that conversation has been tracked throughout the news cycle today, of course. And not to mention that we've had another drug mule that was arrested at OR Tambo just yesterday. A 43-year-old man was arrested yesterday, and this brings the tally to 14 mules that have been arrested at OR Tambo in recent weeks, 4 of which were Brazilian nationals. So I'm pretty sure that John is going to traverse a few of these conversations this afternoon on the National Pulse, and you definitely want to be plugging in for that. Right now, though, we're going to be catching up with Bulelwa Adonis, who is the spokesperson for Women for Change. And Women for Change is deeply concerned about the upcoming Chris Brown concert that is scheduled for the 14th of December in Johannesburg. We do know that the international megastar, multi-award-winning R&B pop star announced his concert dates in Johannesburg just a few short dates ago, and within 24 hours, tens of thousands were already queuing on Ticketmaster to secure their tickets. Essentially, the concert is sold out as we speak. And Women for Change is calling for the concert to not go ahead. So we thought we'd catch up with Bulelwa this afternoon. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm okay. We're tired, but I'm good, thank you. And yourself?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you very much for taking the time. So, Women for Change, you're expressing a deep concern about the upcoming Chris Brown concert. For those of our listeners who perhaps are not familiar as to what the issue might be around his performance in South Africa, give us the groundwork.
So our issue is, I first want to clarify, because I think one thing that we've seen as a team is that people think this is some sort of a personal agenda, whatever the case may be. But the standpoint that we are from is we are not wavering from the work that we normally do. We're anti-GBV, we are always on the side of victims, etc., sharing the stories of the lives of women and children that we lose on a daily basis. So the crux of this matter is the Chris Brown's history. So it's the fact that his record, and people assume that we are fixated on his him abusing Rihanna, and that he did the time, and he did the crime, that type of thing, which I understand, but it's beyond that. There has been multiple more accusations against him. In fact, from my understanding, at the end of this month, there will be a documentary coming out about him and about all of his abuse allegations and et cetera, et cetera. I think perhaps it's revolving around the stories of the victims and survivors. I'm not sure, but what I know for a fact is that a documentary is coming out at the end of this month, which we'll see. It's similar to that series that took place with R. Kelly. Mm-hmm. So our standpoint of this, it's not, crushing Chris Brown as the artist or trying to damper the entertainment of South Africans, but really we are looking at it from a standpoint of South Africa is, our femicide rate is 5 times the global average. And we're baffled as a team that entertainment for 2 days and Monate December is far surpasses the normalization of making stricter laws for our country, a country like ours, rape capital of the world, if that makes sense.
So, what are you calling to be done? Because as we speak now, from what I've seen on the World Wide Web, essentially his tickets are sold out at Ticketmaster, who are the ones, the platform by which his tickets are being sold. They've sold out. Tens of thousands of South Africans have been queuing, for the various stages of ticket releases over the last 2 days, which also indicates a different conversation to be held, right? That surely there must be, the conversation should also be extended to South Africans and his fans to say, what is your responsibility in holding people accountable?
Sure. I especially like that last part of what you just said about accountability, because I think that's something we lack as a country, and I think a lack of accountability is something that's been normalized. But we're well aware of the fact that his tickets are sold out. If anything, from my understanding, I saw that his tickets are sold out within minutes. And it's Chris Brown, and people love him, and he's a big megastar, so it doesn't surprise me too much. But as an organization, we're still pushing through. At first, the goal was 5,000 signatures, but the last time I checked, we almost hit 10K signatures. So ultimately, as a team, we said that we'd get to a point where we feel like we have enough signatures, and from there we'll take it to authorities. What I mean by that is the big concerts, which is the company that's hosting the event, and then Home Affairs, in terms of how an individual who has abuse on his record gain access to a visa.
But where would that leave y'all? Would you have a case with Home Affairs, just given the kinds of unsavory individuals, some would say, that we've let into the country? So what would the exception be for Chris Brown? And second to that, a big concerts, for instance, which is preoccupied with the business of entertainment.
Sorry, please repeat that.
I'm saying, where would that leave y'all by way of action? You say your recourse after you've gotten X amount of signatures is to approach big concerts and Home Affairs. But either one of those entities, one is preoccupied with the business of entertainment, and the other one, has let in folks with far more unsavory records into the country.
That's true. That's very, very true. So to answer your question honestly, I have no idea where that would leave us, but what I know for a fact is that we're not the type of team to give up easily. If anything, we are sticking to our integrity, we're sticking to what we do best, and we're not choosing to be selective with this matter. We're always very vocal. I know that another thing that I saw a lot on social media is that, there's a fascination of Americans, and we need to leave them alone, and we need to focus on our locals, when we have highlights dedicated to, abuses in the entertainment industry in our country. So I don't have an answer for your question, actually, but what I know for a fact is that we're not going to give up as a team, and that as an organization, our existence is to pressurize our governing body, those in charge, leaders, citizens of this country, to actually wake up to the reality of this pandemic in our country, which is gender-based violence and femicide, and to actually marinate on the reality that we need accountability, we need to get stricter.
Okay.
So if anything, I don't know where that leads us, but I'll just keep it at that.
We have to leave it there, unfortunately, for this afternoon. Bulelwa, thank you so much for the time, and she's the spokesperson for Women for Change. It's gone 3 o'clock. The news is standing by with Dineo, and then John is bringing you the National Pulse. Inshallah, God willing, we do it tomorrow.